Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the January 30th, 2023 meeting of the Hampden Board of Selectmen. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our meeting is held live here in the Townhouse Auditorium and broadcast on Zoom. Besides ourselves, is there anyone else recording the meeting? And anybody online can signify, is the audio okay for you? Nobody's complaining. Excellent.
Or they can't hear you.
There you go. That could be it. Thanks. First thing on the agenda, the minutes of January 9th, 2023. As always, finely typed. Looks like an Arial font. Thank you, Pam.
What typeface are you using?
I think it's Arial, probably 10 point or maybe 12. Smaller type size, we'd save some toner cost.
Oliveros here.
See any,
Should be raining. Public hearing. Postponed.
You got 4 pages here, huh? Wow.
Okay. Townhouse assessment. Gaming commission.
any comment on January 9th?
Move approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The minutes of January 17th, fairly short meeting. We started at 5:30 due to a public meeting that was happening at 6.
Excuse me.
We did see the time-bound floor plan proposal at that meeting. I'd like to put that on the agenda for next week for a better discussion by the board. Okay. Good. I don't know if he's really cared. Sometimes,
Yeah, I don't care. All the same person.
Just checking.
That's it.
Donald or Don, I notice it changes halfway through. Okay.
Mr. Davenport would be nice, but like my children call me.
Is it called fiberfish or laserfish?
Yes.
You gotta make that adjustment.
Where's the old man?
Motion to approve as amended.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right. Looks like the senior center is back again.
Senior
Feel free to
center.
turn on your mic.
Oh, that's the broken one.
Oh, broken.
You swap it.
No budget for you. Next.
Still haven't fixed it?
Huh?
Still haven't fixed that?
Can't fix it. Somebody's got it.
No, I mean, like,
No.
can't even buy
It
batteries.
looks like, I used
Okay,
one.
here we go.
Yeah.
Is that good? Great, hi,
Hi, so
Hi.
we'd like to welcome the senior center director, Rebecca Moriarty,
thank you.
representing the board. Bill, awesome. How are you doing? Little bit better every day. How's that?
Good.
Good to hear. Thank you.
He's here.
Thanks for asking.
It's always good to travel with the town accountant, don't you think?
Before
So-
you start, excuse me,
Oh, sure.
the town accountant did produce today an update on where we are in fiscal '23. It's in your packet.
Thank you. And that's through today.
Right.
So tell us about this budget.
So this budget has a typo, which I will immediately correct for you. In the hours per week for the clerk position from 2022, that should have been 35. It's not 30.
It was 35.
It was 35. Yeah, so that's just a typo. So just, and it's planning to stay there. So the budget, obviously, I haven't received any numbers from the advisory with regards to any salary adjustments that might be made for those that are not on the salary chart. I did use the salary chart for the staff that falls within the salary chart. The only,
So you're assuming it's just going to be a step.
I was assuming
Without a COLA.
there may be a step. And so that's in there for that, but I'll make whatever adjustments need to be made once the advisory committee meets and makes their final determination.
Mhm.
The only salary adjustment that I do have in there is 2.5 hours in the director line item. I've been working more than 35 hours a week for quite some time now, and so I'd like to be compensated for those hours going forward. So that's the only hourly amount of hours changed in the budget.
That the 2.5 you're talking about?
2.5, yeah. Down further in the expense line, I kept the expense line the same for next fiscal year. I did do a 5% increase in utilities and building maintenance. I've seen an extraordinary jump in not only our building maintenance supply costs, but obviously utilities have been going up everywhere. So I usually do a 2.5%, but it just, things are really just kind of, they continue to be on the increase. I had to buy dish machine soap the other day, it was $500, so that lasts a few months, but still, it's an increase in cost, so.
I know we've had a conversation about the building maintenance, and obviously we're for 20+ year through year.
Mhm.
Do you think this is enough, or obviously with the concern, we're not going to be doing the addition within the next fiscal year, so that's not.
Right.
Do you have any other concerns that this is something that might really impact us?
I don't at this time. I mean, everything is in good working order. I mean, we have a couple of things that are being looked at. Our dish machine might need a new heating element, but that's something that would fall within the budgeted amount that we have. I don't foresee anything. Obviously, anything big that came along would be an unforeseen expense that I don't want to budget $10,000 just to be on the safe side, so.
You did a couple of articles in the past few years, maybe did the air conditioning thing.
And the
things like
carpet.
that. Are there any other extraordinary needs you're thinking of? Or really just,
Not-
let's wait and see where the study comes back first.
Yeah, I think so. I don't see anything right now that needs anything major. I had talked to Mark. He's going to come and take a look at a couple of the cracks in the parking lot, maybe just to patch those up in the spring or something, but I don't see any other major.
The new check-in system is working well.
Yeah, it's great. Mhm. It's really, really good.
When was the last time you had a program coordinator?
So we have a program coordinator. It's just not funded by the town.
Okay,
It's grant funded. So if you go down to the bottom there, it's the formula grant.
okay.
So that pays for the program coordinator, and then that pays for some
Gotcha.
training for myself and the outreach coordinator. But I just put it up there. It's not a funded position, but it is a position
It's
that we
still
have.
position, okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
I thought we talked about it.
Yeah, just not town funded. Yep.
So you talked about the hours per week on the clerk 35. I see the outreach 37.5 hours a week. Is that what it was before?
Yeah, that's been 37.5 for, Yep.
So that brings, I want to say, that should back up. You should be there every hour somebody else is. So to me, that shows, understand, look, you've got people under you working more hours than you. That
Correct.
doesn't make sense.
correct. Yeah. Yeah, that's been the case for some time.
Outreach?
So outreach
Because
is
part that's part funded by the state.
partially grant funded and partially town funded. And so down at the bottom, the Title 3B, that $14,600,
Okay,
that pays the other portion of outreach to bring it up to 37.5.
Was that grant based on a percentage of mature people in town?
It is not, no.
So as our percentage changes, it doesn't help our grant funding.
Not for that grant. No, the formula grant changes with our population, but not the Title III-B grant.
I would just like to point out, maturity has nothing to do with age.
Yes, I was thinking,
You
Refer
give-
back
you
to
make a
previous
very good
videos,
point.
is that what you're saying? Thanks, Don. Noted. So pretty, except for the rise in utility, et cetera, it's a pretty minor adjustment.
Mhm,
We just have to wait on the advisory, right?
correct.
See what they
Yeah.
recommend.
Because that's the bad thing, it's hard to see from, I mean, it looks great, your salary line is dropping from 182 to 90.
Yeah,
I mean,
looks
your cost
great.
control is
Mhm,
fantastic.
mhm, Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
hate to
I do,
publish
it's in maybe the third week of February.
Okay, so you're scheduled.
Yeah, scheduled. Mhm, I don't have that. Maybe the
That's fine.
I mean, they are meeting tonight, they had hoped last week they'd have some type of thing for us, I don't know if they're gonna.
in discussions
Second
today,
week.
they were saying that they will most likely come up with some kind of COLA recommendation
Oh.
tonight.
Some guideline tonight.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm meeting with them on the 13th.
Budget?
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Cliff, for your input.
I mean, seriously, strong silent type, you're just running.
You did great.
Yeah, I just was here. Said that the board supports that.
Yeah.
How are your speed bumps doing?
You read the thing.
Yeah, that was good.
I try to come up with something.
I enjoy those.
Every once in a while. Exactly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cliff.
I gotta go to a board meeting now.
Have fun.
Thank you. Was the microphone on? Hi, ladies. Are you just backup? Okay, the backup band? So do you have a breakdown of everything that's been in the container for the past 3 months, you know?
Well,
books,
in fact-
clothes, any pictures, no samples?
No samples, no.
No
No.
cloth.
Tell you, I've dropped a lot of kids' clothes off in there.
The
Thank you.
bin has collected 3,633 pounds in the first quarter.
Wow.
Mhm.
And so the Friends just received their first profit share check of $363.33. So it has been wildly.
Mhm.
So if we extend it through October, that would give us a whole year
Mhm.
with it. And instead of coming back every 3 months and then
Mhm.
we feel that.
We'd rather have you back every 3 months. What? Fine, 9 months.
How much was it? How many pounds?
3,633.
And it was basically, and you got $360.
It's 10 cents.
Right.
10 cents a pound. And I noticed going by that it's been pretty clean and neat and nothing around there.
Joan has made the box her second home. So whenever there is something outside of the bin, Joan is there within a matter of minutes.
And I
Okay.
crawl in.
Make it fit in the bin, or she takes bin bags home with her. If they don't fit in the bin, and waits for the truck to come and pick it up. So there have been plenty of times that Joan has been there with her car full of bags to meet the truck.
That's a good look for you, Joan, I have to
That's
say.
right.
Is that because it's full and they
Well-
can't fit any more bags in there, so people are just leaving them, or?
Mhm.
On one occasion, I was there and the truck pulled in.
Yeah.
And it was full,
Yeah.
because I was moving things around and I couldn't get anything else in. So I took the bags and I
Okay.
meet the driver. And so that it can all get in. No sense filling up the bin when the truck is right
Sure,
there.
Yeah,
sure.
right.
So
But-
that begs the question, is there a larger size we
No.
should look at,
Oh,
or?
I already asked that.
Okay,
One size.
and they
That's
don't
it.
pick up any more often? They don't pick up on a more accelerated
They do,
pace
but
or
they'd
anything
have to
like
get
that?
charged back on that.
Which
I've
is-
asked
okay.
for twice a week.
Mhm.
They come Tuesday definitely, at one point on Tuesday, and then they come back Thursday or Friday.
Wow,
And it's full every
Every
time.
time.
that's
Really?
incredible.
Up to a week and a half ago, we were up to 1,888 pounds, and that was only for 2.5 weeks in January.
Mhm.
And I know now I'm over 2,000 for the month of January,
Wow.
Hey,
and it's full now. He's coming tomorrow, so I'll meet him tomorrow because I have
Great.
boxes in my garage. You're gonna see.
Do you have people contacting you with the large stuff? Because I remember you had mentioned that there was, if somebody had like toys or bigger items that they could call and get them picked up. Is anything like that happening?
Uh-huh. And I have boxes in my garage. We've gotten a call, and I'm waiting for tomorrow, and then I'll meet the
Yeah,
truck.
wow.
And then he takes them out of my car and the bags,
Mhm.
and then it goes into the truck and we get weighed.
And then the Friends have also, at their last meeting, they discussed having a bulk pickup day at the senior center, in addition to having a Heart Springs truck there, having an e-cycling, and also a shred.
Mm.
on
Like
one
toward the
day,
end of
so you
April.
could bring bigger items.
Shred event? Is that what you said?
Mhm.
Shred,
Yeah.
e-cycling,
Nice.
and Heart Springs.
Hmm.
So they're looking to do that in April.
Who would do the e-cycling? Is that like that gold circuit place?
Yeah. And that's my neighbor.
Is it really?
No one knows everyone.
Okay.
And do you have to re-sign a contract with them or just tell them it's good to go?
Heart Springs, we don't have to
No.
resign.
No,
No,
just-
they'll just extend it.
Just extend it.
Okay.
So we need a motion?
A motion from the board, giving authorization for the senior center to go ahead with the extension.
Move to approve the 9-month extension with Heart Springs in the senior center.
Second?
3 month,
9-month.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You're cool. You're
Thank
cool.
you.
Why?
Liberal.
Thank you. Thank you, Claudia.
Thank you.
Becky's right, it is Joe's second home.
I'd love to see a picture of her like poking her head up, but let's not do that.
You got a publicity photo?
Mark? I don't see,
Where's
is Park Rec coming?
Yeah, they told me they were.
Okay, well, are we late?
6:15 is on the agenda.
While we're waiting for Park and Rec, let's do your budget first, okay?
I wonder if they're downstairs with advisory.
Mark, welcome. Good job on the roads during the recent events, as always. Mhm. Yeah.
Just Gary.
Hey, Gary. Here, we're just gonna run through his budget first, then we'll do the truck. Okay. Okay. So you took a 5% cut in everything. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Different, in the union contracts and also in the superintendent's contracts, there's a clause to renegotiate based on numbers.
I wouldn't say it's a
Well-
clause to renegotiate, a clause that the selectmen can examine to see if there's a need to renegotiate. Not a, I wouldn't say it's a directive. Right.
Based on
Right.
that, I offered a.
I see that.
Okay, yep.
Right, so in your current budget, you show how the current budget number, which is the contract number of 2.5%, and that's how it would affect your budget. And then you were presenting that, well, if we opened up again, if we talked about it, and potentially it was 5, this is what would affect it.
Okay.
So, moving down the list, everything else is the same. I was saving, I kept that 250, it's a discussion about. At some point, maybe trying to pump that up to 300, but I'm at 250 right now. I did try to go up a little bit in general highway. The reason for that was about 2,600.
Where was that? Yeah,
So that was at 15,645.
right, where was the increase?
What's causing the increase?
What was causing the increase?
Trainings, license reimbursements, other contractual reimbursements. I use that account to pay for certain office supplies / shop supplies, which have all gone.
All right, so it's not like one thing, it's just accumulation of things. It just builds.
It's been a number of years. since
Sure.
I Went up on that, and I just keep doing the best I can,
Mhm.
and, certainly give it back.
Do you anticipate street sweeping going up because of the cost of fuel?
Well, we're under contract.
Right.
First year, so a potential 3-year contract.
Okay.
So,
Hopeful.
I'm hopeful that,
Okay.
The two accounts that really, I saw, this is a question we have every year. Should we do an adjustment to snow and ice? I mean, you look at the number from, you show there, 257, and we're budgeting 100. I understand we're allowed to deficit spend, everybody knows that. But you also don't want to overcharge the hit it takes to free cash at the end of the fiscal year. Should we be more realistic? Is it the time to say, I mean, where are we right now? Have we gone over 100?
Mark gave
No.
me an update today on that. It's surprising.
Right, that's even with buying all the salt at this point. 'Cause,
You stocked up last year,
I
right?
I stocked up at the end of last year.
Right.
It was gonna go up, and quite honestly, I think that will.
Right.
Well, not even filled up, just to
Mhm.
replenish what we still got.
Right. But even last year was not a terribly hard winter. It's, you don't get the big fluffy snow, you get the overtime, sleety, cleaning the roads, and the guys are out on time and a half over the weekend.
That's almost worse. That's
Right.
almost worse.
It's worse. Sure.
To answer your question, I don't know.
Mhm.
The weather is, I don't know.
Well, how have we stood the past 5 years or so? Have we gone over that by a substantial margin the past 5 years? Then we can average that?
Off the top of my head, I can't answer that, but I can get you.
Because that'd be the indicator right
We
there.
can. We've been taking adjustments.
Right.
But again, this goes back to your question. Fuel is an impact of that as well.
Right.
So even just taking that, are we talking 110? Not going a huge bump, but should we be adjusting that up?
I mean, like you said, last year we were 257.
Right.
What were we the previous years and
We
where
had a
do we
couple
fall?
easy
Are we
years.
constantly underfunding?
Oh, we are. But are we underfunding by a lot?
You're right,
the
that's my question.
Because you can't go back. Once you raise it, you can never lower it. So,
Is it not working?
if they both would.
John's mic is very staticky, somebody says.
Mine?
Oh, no, Mark's mic is very staticky. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right, and then the other account, and that's something you can get the numbers with Cliff, maybe looking over, expended in the past few years.
For snow
The
and
other
ice?
one- Yes,
Okay.
and then the other one, building utilities, just like we heard from Becky, like we talked about for the town hall, we're concerned about going forward with utility bills. Are you bumping up enough? Looks like no.
I kept building utilities at the same, because last year or the year before, we did bump that up in anticipation for the highway garage addition. I'm anticipating being okay in that account. The only
Sounds like
other,
the electric's too low.
let me look at that again.
Because I mean, it shows last year you had 15, this year 15, we're not taking a bump in electricity, and it just seems like everybody is reporting. we get a problem. And the highway department, highway building is not one of the accounts covered by the PPA,
Okay.
which are street lights, town
Oh,
hall,
right.
So
Is it possible I can revisit this?
I would say, I
you know,
would keep an eye on revisiting that.
yeah,
Even if
okay.
it's like you're rounding up to 4,000, it's prudent, I think.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I think, I'm more concerned you're in trouble this year. Not so much next year, you're in trouble that you're gonna, run short on utilities.
This year I seem to be doing okay in that account. So,
I mean,
so
just
far.
from our own personal, we see the
Yeah.
rises.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
How you,
Well, I'm saying he's at 15 last year, 15 this year. I would really look hard at a potential bump on the electricity budget for next year. He's showing 2750.
Yeah, and that's based on-
More building, more lights, more electric doors. To go to 4,000 for a building of that size, I'm not shocked. I wouldn't be shocked.
Okay, I will do that.
Look at that.
how do you think chapter 90 is gonna work out this year?
That remains to be seen. I'm hopeful that they will add another 200 million to the, in fact, that's the bill that's going,
Add to it or
Yeah.
keep it at
nope, add another two for a
Really?
total of 400,000.
400 million?
I'm sorry, 400 million.
Hmm.
I have not heard of anything else other than the governor proposed that and they're gonna vote on it. However, I did see the way they're gonna split it up through different grants, so it might not actually equal a total of 400 million for just chapter 90. It looks like they're gonna be splitting that up between different grants or state funded. Could be another round of wrap. I haven't heard anything. Have you? No, not yet. Either way, should be an increase.
That won't affect anything for your planning? You'll be able to plan as normal?
Sure, absolutely. And I can always, plan a few extra projects in the event that we,
Have the extra.
yep.
Obviously, we look forward to meeting with you in March and April.
Sure.
with Your upcoming schedule.
Absolutely. The one last account I did want to bump up was the road machinery maintenance account.
Obviously, the excavator's under warranty. I would.
It is, yes. But just parts, cost of parts, cost of service, it's all gone up. It's all
Do you
gone up,
keep
so.
common parts in stock, like belts, shear bolts, things like that?
So that's why I try to run everything standardized with either Fords or Max, because we do keep stock of certain parts. Certainly, parts needed, items needed for maintenance, vehicle maintenance like oil changes, oil filters, air filters, oil, stuff like that. So it's nice to kind of have everything standardized in the closet. So we do. Not a lot, but we do. A lot of places aren't even stocking parts these days. So.
No, but like I say, you have, in a storm, hydraulic hose goes down, they have something on the shelf.
We try to, but it's hard to, the common ones that may blow,
Yeah.
we'll have them. So yeah, that was
Big
the
rolls of
last,
duct tape as well.
some duct tape, bubble gum.
Baling wire. Sure. Obviously, the big thing in your budget, you want a new truck, another new truck. You just got one a few years ago. When's it gonna end?
When's it gonna end?
93, it's barely used. Just broke it in.
Just broken in. Yeah, so it's a 93,
Exactly right.
it's a 93 with
Is that a
100.
millennial truck? I can't
Well,
remember.
It's probably got, it's just over 117,000 miles on it. Again, it's kind of used up its life here with us, and as far as maintenance on it, repairs,
Sure.
I've got a breakdown of all of that. We've been spending some money to keep this
I went
truck
back
going.
and I went back for your reports, Pastor. This is always one that was planned pretty much at this time.
Yeah, as a matter of
looking at
fact, it might even be a couple years overdue.
Right, I mean, you're at
10 years overdue,
30-year
actually.
lifetime
Yeah.
on this truck, which is,
And you're looking at probably another year and a half before you get it, right? I mean, even if the town
Yes.
meeting approved it, you
Yeah.
ordered it,
it'd be a 30-year truck at that point, so.
Well, yeah.
Now, are you gonna have to change out the sander on this, or is that still?
So what I had planned to do, since we have all stainless steel slide-in sanders that should last quite a long time, I don't feel the need to have a truck built with a stainless steel all-season body on it, which would increase the cost of the truck by 30 to 50,000. So the price that I got from Mac was just the regular dump truck with a stainless steel body, and we can use our stainless steel slide-ins for it, or have one converted for it, which is easy enough. So that helped bring the cost down considerably.
Do we want Mark to meet with the capital committee first, just to make sure that they're over the scheduling there? So you should let Thad, well, Thad's online right now, so let Thad know that Mark will be at his next meeting. So,
Okay.
all right.
Am I going to reach out to Thad or? Okay.
What else you got?
That budget-wise, is that the major right there?
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we asked to have a meeting with Parks so we could talk about your new truck and the transfer. Carrie, do you want to come up? Okay, we have a mic.
Pam, you want to grab?
How
that
about
mic there?
the
Oh, yeah,
lectern
grab the
one?
one up top there,
Yeah.
the podium.
Remember now. Oh, and the decals will be on it tomorrow. So,
We'd like to welcome Carrie, the chair. Parks and
Chair.
Rec.
Chair of Parks and Rec. Yes.
So, in the past budget cycle, we did approve, and the voters approved a new pickup truck to replace a
2007
pickup truck that had, was it a 250?
F-250
F-250.
with a
It
plow.
was gonna have roughly 60, 70,000 miles on it at the time. We were gonna get the trade-in. And the board was in favor of rolling the old truck down to Park and Rec because they had requested that we do something because they have equipment to move from location to location, taking care of ball fields, et cetera. Now the new truck has come in, and kind of, I think our concern here is how are the logistics going to work? Where's the truck going to be housed? Who's going to have keys to it, if you will? I know you had talked about the potential, you're interested in having the ability to plow the park during the winter.
Right. That
So,
was a hope. And I know, Mark, I was not at the last meeting, unfortunately, due to a work conflict, but I know it was discussed at the meeting. Something about you wanted to still use it in the winter time to plow, right? Is that correct?
So I wanted to offer a suggestion to the Board of Selectmen and to the
Parks.
Parks Commission
Together.
to work together to be able to potentially use that truck for snowstorms only on the roads, potentially with a Parks Department employee who I've talked to and has experience plowing and said might be interested. In which case, I would pay the employee out of snow and ice, right? Or if there's a repair that needs to be made due to use of it during a snowstorm, I'd be justified to pay for that out of snow and ice as well.
Well, let me ask you then, is anything really going to change? Currently, and this happened last year, you will plow the park typically after a storm has passed because it's more secondary to the needs of the town, and you'll plow it as part of the highway department duties.
Yes, oh, absolutely.
So
yeah.
now you have another vehicle to do that with, but you still could be doing that. This is a vehicle that Parks would like to be using during, the non-winter season,
Right, spring and summer.
and it would be available because you wouldn't be plowing with it.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
And you would make sure that at the end of the winter season, you've been using it, you're gonna tune it up, everything's ready, boom, ready to turn over. And the question is gonna be, where is it gonna be stored and kept so that they can come up and grab it as they need to move the mower back and forth and things like that.
Right, and I think it was determined that during the spring and summer, fall time frame, it would be stored at the park. And then during the winter, it would be stored up with highway.
Okay, are you feeling comfortable with that, safety-wise, whatever? You sure wouldn't rather leave it at the highway? Where,
So
I know I ask
don't know if
because,
there's room at that highway. I don't want to.
only because I realized, as you know, my wife was chairman of Park and Rec, and we always talked about vandalism at the
That's
park
true.
back in the day.
It happens on
Yeah.
occasion.
Sure. So,
So, I mean, if there was room at the highway, maybe we could work that out.
sure.
Because I don't know if it would fit in our garage
I
at this time with all the other equipment in there.
don't think the door's high enough for it myself. I remember we used to have
That's
that blue
true.
tractor in there for mowing,
Right.
but I think that's a low door. And that's a
Not about that
taller
bad.
truck being 250.
So, but I know the Board of Park is willing to work with
Sure, and I'm
Mark.
sure Mark has a place he can keep the
and-
plow up there too.
Oh,
keep it up.
absolutely. I mean, even, yeah. We can make that work. I think an extra plow truck would be beneficial for our department and the town,
sure.
should the need arise this winter.
My next question would be, again, the people driving the truck, the town vehicle, is there an insurance component to it? Is there a coverage thing? And this is kind of a question for Pam and Bob. Right, but these would be like, I'm not sure if the employee, but on occasion, maybe one of the board members, hey, let me grab the truck and take something over. And
I would assume at that point, it'd just be like, if I borrowed your car, I'm
Right.
covered under my insurance.
That's what I want to be clear on though. So,
So whoever the driver is would be under them.
yeah. And you guys have a trailer, or who has the trailer?
We have a trailer.
You have the trailer, okay.
The one other thing I would just suggest is on those off months or the spring, summer, and fall months, maybe parks could have a line item for maintenance in case, in the event that something happens.
I know
We need
we
fuel and stuff like
bumped
that.
up
Sure.
one of our lines to maintain the truck last year. We
Oh,
included
Oh, okay,
some
in
money.
anticipation of, right.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
I think it was in our expense line or something,
Mhm.
but we did incorporate some money.
And
Just in case.
And typically your thought is that you have a park employee, and 95% of the time, that's the person using the truck.
Right.
And they know how to go up and use the gas tank, and they have a code and all that, and
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
really not a lot's gonna change, except,
We'll just
there's a
have
vehicle.
Vehicle, instead of
Right.
him driving his personal vehicle.
right,
Does he have a key to get into highway if it's closed?
He does not.
So I mean,
Um,
that'd be a question if it's stored
The
at
gate key.
highway,
The
gate key,
yeah.
how is he gonna get in, I don't have a
Okay.
problem with being
If
stored at
he's
the
a-
parks either, but
If you're working with him as an employee, then that might change things too. I don't know.
we can work that out.
I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And just thought we could maybe try it.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think I like the idea of like keeping it in the rotation for the winter, Because there are times when you want to plow something that a small truck is going to be more efficient than taking out the Big Mac.
Yeah.
And having two vehicles like that is better.
Absolutely.
well, the new truck.
It's almost like-
it's pretty much similar.
Yeah, but it's almost like I can almost set up a whole, with one extra driver, I can set up a whole nother route,
Mhm.
just about, and maybe get to some areas a little bit quicker.
Sure.
So I'm kind of looking at it from that perspective. It would also, a lot of times I find myself, I get going plowing. I love to plow. It's not boring to me,
Mhm.
but I kind of get lost in doing that. And what I need to do is kind of break away and be doing some other things, checking on our town lines and hills and stuff like that. So
So it might keep you up a little bit.
it would free me up, yeah, a little bit, for sure.
So you guys will have open communication about what's going on and
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
talk to Steve usually at too.
Sounds like a
Yeah.
plan.
Well, right now, what's it say on the side now? Town of Hampden or Highway Department?
It does.
you get it
Um,
relettered.
Actually, I can,
Parks and highway. Parks up there.
parks,
But Town of Hampden.
Little- Cross it out,
you know,
scribble it in.
maybe we can take that
Slash.
off and I can get a couple more decals. I should have
That's
thought
fine.
of
I
that,
was
but
Believe me, that's low on
Yeah.
the list right there. Again, the one thing though, where it's being kept, to me is important. It's not a home vehicle.
Yep.
So it's either going to be at the,
Oh, no,
at the park or the highway department.
right.
Okay.
All right.
Any questions from the board? Bob, anything?
No, I think it makes sense.
Right. Excellent. Carrie, thank you.
Thank
Mm.
you. Before I go, can I just let the board know of something, an upcoming event with the parks that's in the works? I have the okay to speak from a family on behalf of them. There's a family, his name was Scott Dakota. He grew up here in town. I went to school with him. He was tragically killed in Denmark in 2018. He was an employee of Lego, so he was over there on business. And they started a foundation in his name, and they've had fundraisers in Westfield, East Long Meadow over the years. This year, the family, because they're from Hampden, they really wanted to bring it to Hampden. So they're looking to have a big event here in the fall. And I saw Scott, I'm gonna probably have to talk, because it's gonna be a traffic thing. There have people from all over the world that attend this event. Because he knew a lot of people and was very involved. So it's something that's up and coming, where they're just starting the planning of parts, but they want to do a 5K. There's usually an art show, but they wanted to keep it hometown feel, and they wanted to use the parks because of the picnic area, things for the kids to do. But there's some logistics that we have to figure out.
Okay, well, thank you for the heads up.
Okay.
But yes, they're looking at, I think it's September 16th or 17th, that weekend.
After the holiday, good.
So just a heads up that it's coming, and
Keep us
hopefully-
on, keep Hampden on the map.
yes,
Excellent.
yes, they're very excited, so.
Thank you.
Cool.
All right, all
Great.
right. well,
Thanks,
thank
Gary.
you
Thanks,
guys.
Mark.
Thank you both. Next, we have Mr. Moderator, former Selectman, planning board member
Bon
Richard
vivant.
Green.
Bon vivant.
Bon vivant, yes, really. Liz, what do you think? Throw it away.
Thanks for
Yes. Retina scan, identify yourself into the microphone, please.
This has gotten high tech since the day when cut and paste meant cut and paste.
Exactly, cut and run.
That was it. It's great to be here. My father's Minnetonka High School teacher is here. My high school teacher. My first baseball coach's wife is here. So it's like old home week here in Hampden. And so the governance study committee, I submitted to you folks the list. And I know I had sent you an email earlier saying that, it seemed like you would go without me, but then I thought about it and said, well, we got this far, we may as well get it wrapped up. If you looked at the list, you'll see that it's really comprised of folks that haven't had a long history of volunteering in these committees. It's a diverse committee. It's a very young committee. And the thought process there, for the most part,
Ours is what he's saying. Yeah.
look, and I'm in your camp. I'm not young anymore.
Well, I do like the fact, as you said, I mean, I had bounced this off of Keith Pixley, I think at the tree lighting. Hey, you want to get involved? And he said, I'm limited in what I can be being a state employee. And this is perfect. I'm glad you were able to grab him.
Well, I can tell you that, each of the conversations, even with the folks that did not choose to serve or didn't have the time to serve, the conversations were all extremely thoughtful. And Keith, it was, a classic example of that, trying to balance family and home life with this, like we've all been through.
Sure.
All of us who sit here have done this for a long time. So we've all had to make that balance. And kind of the questions were, how often would it meet? What are the parameters? What are the guidelines? And the explanation was simply that you are an autonomous committee who will meet on your own choosing, your own setup. You will more than likely follow all the open meeting laws, posting. Bob and I have talked about a clerk using, hopefully, with your approval, money from 12.7, the temporary helpline, which would allow them to have a clerk to keep notes, keep minutes, keep records. They've got a year and a half to ramp this up. And the thought process, Bob and I have had conversation about this, if he's shared with you, would not to be just to land them on their own and wish them well, but Bob's involvement with the FOG, the Form of Government Committee, Pioneer Valley Planning. So there's a lot of resources, but again, the sense was they would be independent. One of the women I spoke with, her primary concern was a lot of it the independents and quite frankly, not having a lot of structure at the beginning so they could build their own and have a sense of learning of how the town government process works. You'll see 2 ad hoc members on there who have a little more history and have some, maybe a reserve, but they are not voting members.
I want to see
I don't-
one. I want to see
I
one.
want to see Cliff.
We had some issues today with that. I just did not add on the bottom line, that person at the bottom didn't add a picture.
So John Matthews?
Yeah, so the 2 ad hocs are Cliff Bombard and John Matthews.
So they would not be voting members?
They would not be voting members. You know, for example, the conversation with Cliff,
Yeah.
you know, given all that he has going on and he's busy, and so his thought process was that I would really like to contribute, but I'm not sure how limited I'm going to be. And as opposed to giving him up, you know, giving up on his expertise, I suggested that he look at maybe doing the ad hoc route, whereby if he was there, he was there. If he couldn't make it health-wise or anything that he might have going on within his day, that would be fine as well, but at least he could offer the insight. And almost a little bit sub to pinch hitters, that if there's an issue with the primary committee members, if they can't be there or they have to, you know, or they have to leave, they, you know, the commitment gets to be too much for them, at least there's somebody to step in. And I actually had a couple of folks in the interview list. It was a long list. It wasn't, you know, this unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your point of view, did take a fair amount of time to really get through this list and get to it. But there were a couple of folks that if I'm not considered, I'd still willing to be, would like to be considered or be a part of it if, you know, if the final list, you know, I'm not there. So it's out there. It's you know, it's probably going to have some evolution to it.
What's your thought about, I know we talked about using temp help, or do you really need how much clericals do you see needing?
You know, I really haven't thought of, I figured they would structure on their own, but I would really think that clearly they're going to need to keep minutes. This committee is going to be subject, in my opinion, or thought processes, subject to the open meeting law. I don't know how much it would take from one of their abilities to be a part of an active advocate in the meeting if they're busy taking the notes. So, you know, they're going to have to decide how often they're going to meet, how long their meetings are going to go. So having some, and you know, that was probably one of the things at the town meeting when the question came up, although it was, I wouldn't have ruled it out of order if somebody had brought up financing the committee. I quite frankly didn't think of it in the middle of the vote, but you know, that might have been the time, or even if there's a question on this town meeting, if you wanted to formalize the amount of money for the committee. But I don't have a great answer for you as to how much they might take. I don't think it's going to be an exorbitant amount of funds. I would envision this as a committee that would probably meet a couple hours, you know, between 2 and 4 hours a month. And
Well, I think we had said as a board,
Yeah.
we're willing to, you know, say we use that account for that. There are, for instance, we know that there's somebody in the town hall is looking for additional hours as a clerical position.
Yep.
And is available for that type of thing.
Well, that was along the line of the conversation Bob and I had. We didn't get into specifics on the person or again, the parameters, simply because we felt it would be prejudging the committee if we told them, okay, so you guys are going to meet this off and here's what we got for you. Clearly, they're going to have to make some of their own requests, and they may have to stand up at town meeting and ask for subsequent funding to that, or an amendment to either the temporary helpline or their own funds.
I mean, you gotta think of how many other boards there are that don't utilize a clerk like that. They're just,
How many are there that don't?
right, there's
Yeah.
a lot. So they may not use a lot of
I
clerk
wouldn't
help.
think they would. I mean, again, if he's, you know, asking the question on the fly,
Yeah,
my sense is, you know, mostly what they're going to need this person for would be the taking of the minutes.
right.
A lot of that, especially if it's Zoom, is going to be recorded, and then any correspondence they're going to have. I mean, clearly, I mean, 2 of these members are very young. One of these folks probably was at his, what I would suggest would have been his first town meeting. So his true understanding of the mechanics of the process, and I'm not picking on, because there's another gentleman who's in the committee who's been to a lot of town meetings, but he's never held any type of volunteer position or office before. Eric,
Yes.
I'm not sure what last, in office in town?
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, as a committee thing, he was on a committee with.
a committee, and,
At the beginning of the first Hillside, I think.
okay, so as a committee member, and that was quite a while ago, but
Oh, yes,
but he's never been involved like in the mechanics of structure, like how does the selectman's office work? How does the planning board work? So he's gonna have some, you know, some understanding just because he's been here for 50 years. But he's one of those even type people who's very bright, who's going to be able to kind of work his way through the process and help. He'll be like one of those cohesive members of the group. But as Bob and I talked about, whether it's the fog or Pioneer Valley planning, I think this is going to be their bigger issue is learning the nuts and bolts. But that's also why I didn't think it was appropriate to pick somebody who would be like one of us or inside baseball, if you will, because they're going to have preconceived notions. If various boards, i.e. the assessors or the planning board or the board of selectmen, want to go meet with the committee and impart their thoughts or say, you know, we want to offer this or that, that I would suggest, or I would think it would behoove this committee to take that advice and to take that guidance. But in the end, it's going to be up to them to build the program we're all going to live with one way or the other for the next pick a time.
So what's the next step?
So my thought process on this would be if the appointment process is finalized and the vote is taken to use the money from the temporary helpline, I would set up a meeting with myself, the committee, obviously if the board would like to be there, but at the very least, myself, the committee, and Bob. He could introduce them to the concept of the FOG, the Form of Government Committee, some of his own background, and then we get out of the way. So my sense is the next meeting is going to be the meeting where we take the training wheels off the bike and send them on the road. It's going to be their first day on the bike, but they're going to be on their own.
We thought it was important to be absolutely independent of any of the public officials currently.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they can take the fresh, independent, arm's length review of what we have as a town government, and then offer any recommendations to the town meeting in May of 2024.
I mean, I can tell you one of the things, if you go back, and this is now clearly dating myself, but when we did the first employee evaluation study, which I'm thinking 89, when we did the first one, you know, some of the difficulty was it never stayed impartial. It turned into, we had an outside group come in, but inevitably all the electeds come in or the staff come in, and now all of a sudden the people doing the thing are just overwhelmed by the inside information, if you will, and all the independence was gone. Then it just turns into a Donnybrook, and that's the last thing we need.
So it's your thought that this group will get together, have a meeting, elect a chair, and then set their schedule going forward?
Absolutely, and from that point on, we wouldn't be involved, and they could. Donna Hatch, for example, was the member who said, you know, she asked the question about where would the outside influence come from. I said, if it's done right, there won't be an outside influence. It'll be up to you folks, meaning your committee, to elect your committee, set your meeting dates, and set the processes for which this goes forward. And then, you know, if you choose to take input from other boards, that's fine. If you choose not to, that's up to you as well. Yeah. But these decisions will be yours, not Rick Green's, we'll go from there.
Okay. Going forward, so do I need a motion to endorse this list unless you have a couple of questions?
Well, the question I have is that says we're appointing them, but the town meeting motion was for the moderator to appoint them.
So I had this conversation with Eva when the list was finalized. And I asked her, I said, exactly that. I mean, and I said, if the moderator picks the committee, and she said, but historically the selectmen sign the appointment slips.
This goes back just like advisory committee. You pick the advisory committee, but we sign the slips.
Right.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I told her, Mike, and
You appoint the constable too, right?
No, they're elected.
They're elected?
No, they're elected. But to Don's point, and I think I said it to Bob, that was also my concern, because even the signing of the slips by the board, and I'm not looking to pull the thread on the sweater, but anything that's contrary, that creates the appearance of, oh, well, I had to get signed off on by the selectmen. Would somebody sit at town meeting and call that impartial? And even I had this conversation to the nth degree, and I finally said, well, provided I'm moderator at the time this is done, because you know I'm elected too. Provided that if that question were to come up at town meeting, if somebody were to say, in as much as the Board of Selectmen signed the appointment slips, I said, well, then at that point, even my answer is going to be, whether it be precedent or law, historically, the slips have been signed by the selectmen, regardless of the origination of the appointment. We could have carried this out further and had a legal review and all that, but I said, look, let's, you know,
So based on the recommendation of the moderator
And the town
And
clerk.
the town clerk.
you recommend these people be the government study committee?
Well, the committee, as the town meeting directed, I'm the only one who picked them.
Right.
But it wasn't until the mechanics of signing the slips came up that even I'd had the conversation from the clerks, that I wanted the clerk's perspective. So as the town meeting authorized or asked or voted, I picked the name, I picked the committee. But, I did take guidance from her with regard to these slips.
Like I say, you don't sign the appointment slips for the
No.
advisory,
No, I don't.
but you pick them.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes. So, yeah, so that's why, like I said, John, whether it's precedent or case law, I don't know the answer to that. But it just seemed cleaner as we were having the conversation that we would go that way. We could certainly ask for an opinion, but
Yeah, we could. I was just thinking that you didn't want to.
I don't think.
I'm
it's-
just looking at
I don't want to kick this down the road anymore.
chapter 409 real quick, and it states that, you have the power to appoint a finance committee, but it doesn't
Right.
say anything about the selectmen can have to approve it. It just says you have the power to appoint it through your office and duties.
I think the big thing with the slips, and I'm going back to my selectman days, which I'm going to be a little bit rusty on, the issue of the appointment slips is it determines the length of time, but in some cases, the slips would say to this time or until your successor is chosen. But my understanding of the slips is it just creates the box in which the length of service is designated.
Yeah.
I don't know that it carries any other weight
Right.
past that. But clearly, and again, not to beat this to death, but clearly, if you folks are just signing off on the slips without question as I appointed it, I don't see where their impartiality is compromised in any way.
So I'm happy to entertain a motion to endorse the appointment by the moderator of the following individuals to the government study committee.
So moved.
Is the word endorsement?
Well, that way
That-
it's
that
clear
means-
he appointed the committee. We're just agreeing with his, and as such, sign the dated appointment slips. We're saying he appointed them. We have received the following individuals appointed by the moderator for the government study committee, and hereby affix our signature to the appointment dates.
That would do it.
So moved.
Second on that one.
All in favor? That was fancy, wasn't it? Hereby affix. I like that.
Put your straw hat and cane away. Yeah, I have to tell you, like I said, and Eva and I had a long conversation about it, and I wish there was a clean answer, but I don't know that there is.
Well done.
Set?
Thank you, Rick.
Good?
Wow.
Yeah.
Nope. Thank you,
Awesome.
guys.
Thanks
All
for
right.
taking the time.
Anytime.
Let's see,
I'll talk to you
so we have a couple of our things, but we also have Keith here. And his salary, but we gotta get him out of here.
He's here for,
The sergeant, so we kick that up.
yeah, 80%.
Chief.
Oh. I don't know, when I was teaching at Emerson College, 70% was a fail
That's
in
the
my
live
class.
one over there. Okay, you can just one of them. Thank you.
Hmm? Oh, you got a badge and everything.
I'm taking it out because you're starting to joke around, like, make sure I'm official
You
here.
detective today?
Yes. In training today,
How are you?
this week.
Got one of the good tasers on?
No, get that locked up.
So sergeant exam.
So yes, we're back at it again. I know last time we spoke quickly, we didn't really have much, and I forgot to mention, the Board of Selectmen has set the score, and it's in the policy of setting this promotional score. We did have some research done, and it shows that 2010, it was a score that was set by the Board of Selectmen at 60, and then thereafter, it's always been at a 70. So looking to see where the board would like to go, since we were at a 60 one time
Right.
only, and then everything else has been a 70. We do have 4 candidates. One thing that kind of, again, at the end of the day, we give them study material. We hope that they study and learn it. And the one thing it does say is if we don't have someone that does pass, we would, according to the policy, go outside the agency. We have the right to go outside the agency.
With 4 strong candidates, and I'm aware of some of the names I believe we bandied about, I really don't see a need to bring the score back down, in my opinion. I'm happy with the 70. You know, Don, you're pushing 90, but I mean,
When I taught at Emerson College, 70 was failing in my class.
Really?
that wasn't criminal justice, though.
No. I also told them the only reason for missing a class was a death in the family, yours.
And then there was an incomplete, that was the grade.
And I see where we're all coming from. I've always had different reservations over the years of, a setting of a score. And you don't always have that person who absorbs that material as easy as others. And I've looked at like a civil service or a state exam. You're bringing down the numbers. Here we have 4 candidates that are going for this exam. Would a 65 be something where we're more apt, or we stay with, like you said, the 70? The testing company basically said that mostly it's a 70. But they can go wherever we go, wherever we wanted to go. It is in there with the board setting. I don't really remember the reasoning behind the 60 back in 2010.
I'd have to go back in my memory. Obviously, we voted it based on Chief Farnsworth's
Right.
recommendation.
Right.
But personally, I can't see it going below 70. I'm sorry, this is a big step.
No, that's why I'm here before you. I mean, it says the Board of Selectmen, and I'm here to get the direction and where we're moving forward on.
I think 70's adequate.
Right.
Okay?
I mean, if something happens, come back to us. Right.
Sure.
I move the passing grade be 70.
Wow.
It's gonna be
You had to
two,
choke that out there.
it was gonna be a 2-1 vote against me, so I just.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
All right. I guess we scared.
When do you
guess we
think you're coming for your budget?
We were just waiting for tonight's number, and
Right.
then I will send it in.
we'll
Or
pick
have
a
Kathy
date.
send it in, we can pick a date, sure.
Do they have a number, did they say?
I did not know if they did or didn't. They're supposed to.
You're in training all week?
But I have Kathy speed dial to make sure that we get a number we can get it out.
That's
Okay.
gonna be hard when there's no Kathy on speed dial.
Very hard when Kathy
Yeesh.
got on speed dial. But we'll get through it.
I like your confidence.
Thank you. Gotta be confident.
All right.
What else we got?
Well, let's just take that quick consent agreement thing. 18 Crossroad consent agreement. Background, it's just a vote of the board to go ahead with it. Mhm. Right. Hey, look, their check is cleared, so I think it's like this time, they're probably been
Well,
paid.
it's,
My gosh, when you get 10 people involved in something, everybody gets richer than lawyers, right?
I think it's ludicrous. Does National Grid actually think that someone's gonna embark on a $5 million project and not,
It's
not,
only
and not have the land to do it on?
Yeah, huh? Yep.
They do, actually. That.
So I have here Exhibit 1, landowner consent agreement, and we represent Massachusetts Electric Company and Nantucket Electric Company, DBA National Grid. They were the Nantucket Electric Company. but-
Well, you know what?
They're only
Maybe this
DBA.
summer we should go down there and see if there's really an electric company there. The selectmen should.
I like that idea. Probably July.
July.
July is nice, yeah. Fly over.
Fly over.
No, I did the high-speed ferry. That's quite nice.
Right.
The ferry is quite nice. So from Hyannis, I'll take a motion to authorize the chair to sign this landowner consent agreement.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Boy. Lastly, selectmen budgets. Had anything changed since the last time? All
Okay.
right, so we really need, okay, 'cause that's the big things. And again, so for the agenda next week, I really think we should have ambulance on the discussion.
Okay.
This town hall report and the discussion. Okay. Yeah, there was something else we talked about.
Talking about town reports, how's the annual reports?
I did see marks in the thing, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I- yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I see Anthony Gentile on there. I don't know if there's anything specific he wanted to,
Well, Anthony did send us a note that Belchertown is interested in joining the regional dispatch. However, that's something kind of major. I wouldn't want to discuss that if it wasn't on the agenda, because to me, he's going to give us heads up that that'll be discussed next week.
okay.
Did you see it? Anthony, did that summarize it?
Yep, that's good.
Okay, so next week, we'll have it on the agenda so people will know. And you might have a little more background at that point too.
Yeah.
Again, I'm concerned how it would affect any of our grants coming forward. I think one thing I said to you would be wonderful if it would restart the 100%, because we're going to be dropping to the,
62.5.
yeah, so that's the thought, but you'll have more information next week.
Yes, I will.
Super. Thank you.
Selectmen's budget.
Small budget, we're gonna kick until we get the thing. It seemed like there was something else major we're gonna talk, well, we have this. You also mentioned, I'm sorry, something from Gina about signs. Yeah. And that's not the sign we have in front right now. I have to say, I love them putting on signs, but they write
Too
the
much.
book on the sign. You have to like stop and like, what is
Can't
this?
read it driving by.
Right,
No,
right. It's just, yeah, don't they?
you can't read it when you
No.
drive by.
I'm like- So, and I'm driving slow, like I know you do.
Mhm.
So anyhow, so yes,
Is
I
the
mean,
chief
obviously
gone?
we support their issues, but maybe we should do one of those QR things here.
Yeah.
They come up on your phone. So actually, that is, they should put a QR.
There you
code
go.
on it, yeah.
Everybody should.
All right,
keep up.
anything else to come before? Don, you wanted something, you had a draft of a
Yeah,
letter.
you just look at it and
Looked at
see what
it,
you think.
Any thoughts?
Nope.
Seem good. So basically, there was some public comment about the storage unit. Mr. Sibilia wrote a letter, and Mr. Davenport has written a letter for the board to look over and endorse, and I saw no problems with it. And
No problems.
Okay.
if the town administrator would put it on a letterhead for us to sign, that would be good. Great, and when we sign it, we can read it into the record at that point.
Mhm.
All right. Correspondence, I mean, that was the major correspondence. Selectmen reports, we have, the COA Building Committee is actually, I think I mentioned last week, we're looking at the land between the senior center and the police station. I talked to Gary Wayner tonight, and there actually that may be a way to move,
Mm.
because it does not constrict the expansion in that direction. And I think if we look at the fact that that might actually be a more logical expansion, because it back from the front door, going back.
Mhm.
I liked, for instance, this goes back to the layout of the Baptist church. Remember as you walk in, there's
Yeah,
a corridor going
yeah,
down, everything. I like that look, and maybe,
What are you gonna do with the shuffleboard courts? You know, the shuffleboard?
at our age, it's all we do.
So you're anti-shuffleboard.
It's all we do.
What? Yeah,
Oh, he said we may not need to, is what his conversation is. He's working with, gosh, what's his name? Pete Levesque. And the fact that the monuments are so far away from the delineation, he says you're actually, all you need is request for determination, negative determination from the Concom. He's gonna work on that. We actually may not need to spend any money on it, which is,
that's
the
good.
budget we had, 0 is good.
Yeah.
I think so. So that'll hopefully come before, we have another meeting at the beginning of February, and hopefully we'll have that information back at that time. Not much from Housing Authority. I think we really need to have that discussion about the time bond report before we get some other departments, I don't want to say beating down our door, but that was just a report. I think maybe the presentation came across as it was, I don't want to say a fait accompli, but I think it raised more questions than we were prepared to
It was a
answer.
very incomplete report.
Right. It didn't address the things that Craig had asked for, the phones, the HVAC, the mechanicals, nothing. Basically, all it said, we're moving the library out, and nobody was ready for that. Well, they said that in the thing, but that goes back to my comment during the meeting, Bob. I think we ought to be looking at, I'll say like Wolverhampton does, or other towns, but you have a area for the engineering part, if you will. You know, where you have planning, building, Concom, everybody that deals with the same subject. And as they said, they should be on the same. I know, if you only had a way that was all on one floor altogether, I just can't think what that could be, Craig. What could that be?
I'm drawing a blank.
Are you really? Yeah, I'm not. Someplace that would have like large open places with bifold doors and easy access for every department. Maybe we could find a place like that, Tom, somewhere around here.
The strategic planning committee, the strategic planning committee met,
Did they?
that their portion,
Strategically?
that portion of the strategic planning committee, which I've been appointed to, and their first thing to discuss is building enrollments and utilization across the entire district.
Do they agree with the last thing we heard, which I think was at the roundtable, that things are still trending down a bit?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, and how do?
But the middle school is chock full.
It's splitting at the seams.
Yeah, where the water is.
Yeah.
But that also speaks to the fact, we go back, gosh, I'm gonna say, Don, 6, 7 years, and they did the report of projected improvements at Wilbraham Middle, and it was well north of $10 million. You know? Well, Tina, maybe at a cost of, 5 or something when you add in the parking lot and the roof
Yeah,
and stuff like that. And it goes back to, I think, a point I made at that point. When you take the cost of 15 to 20 for that middle school, whatever, you put that towards the cost of a new place with state reimbursement, you're halfway to the new car rather than fixing the old car for the same money. So it was a thought at that point. I think it was choice J or whatever, but always good to reinvestigate. Greg, you got a fiber meeting coming up, don't you?
We have, well, that's the fiber. And then we also have, right, the monthly update of what's going on. Bob and I are also meeting with Dan Hall from DEP on Wednesday. I was trying to get him to come to a selectmen's meeting, and they won't because it's state stuff. So, but he did say he would meet with Board of Health chair, and Bob's coming, and Jane.
So you'll be able to report
We're
more
going to
next
get
week.
more info of what's happening.
Okay, great. Okay. Town administrator report. Yeah, looks like last week's.
Sidewalk.
So
I've
the
also
one,
been-
the 1.3 did not include the design cost?
It does, but
Okay.
if you recall,
Then, so we could
we
take
don't
the,
want to, the board didn't want to move forward until we have money in hand. And I've talked with Representative Ash's staff, also talked with the finance guy at the MMA today about where's the money and when's it coming through. And frankly, we are, I think, being held back by the change in administrations.
right,
He said that it'll take a while for the new administration to get a grip and then make the money available, actually borrow the money and make it available.
but I worry about the gaming ones. Shoot, last time, Don, it was like a year before we got reimbursed
Yeah.
for the stuff we spent last time.
Yeah.
I
Well,
know.
in this case, gaming money is not going to come through until nearly the end of the fiscal year,
Which fiscal year?
this fiscal year.
Well, it's still
So-
better than last time.
Yeah, it is. And the problem I certainly raised with the MMA people is that they ought to get busy with this, because if we don't get the funding from the
got another one
state
now.
relatively soon, you're going to preclude the next construction season. So
And there's lots of towns that, on that list that have money.
that's what I said.
I know.
I-
Maybe we need authority to
Yeah,
borrow.
yeah,
A
yeah.
lot of earmarks are out there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, that's what I worried, so I asked Mark to at least look into projected cost for, I'd say if we're looking at concrete, that's the biggest expense in the whole thing. Maybe, you bring a good point here, maybe if you kick the engineering cost to a separate gaming commission grant, that gives us enough money in the original grant to do the north side of the road. Which obviously we're not gonna expand because it's gonna stop at the park. We really can't go any further on that side at that point anyhow. So, all right.
Well, I am not too optimistic about getting work done this coming construction season, either on the sidewalks or with the windows. Because I don't think the money's going to be released until later. So anyway, that's where we are. Began the process to get a grant to finish the engineering on the East Main Street Bridge. That's going to be a significant chunk of money to do that.
Just the engineering, you're not talking the bridge. You're talking
Everything
the
else has been
engineering.
done. All the environmental impacts and all that was
Right.
done with the $30,000 grant. This is just the engineering.
But who's paying for the bridge?
Once we get the engineering done, we go back to the state for funding for the bridge. So, Ambulance Oversight Committee met, made a recommendation for a 1-year extension, vote of 4-1. A kickoff meeting for Audio I, it turned out to be a problem. It's being rescheduled. I've talked to them 3 times in the last week. Frankly, I was annoyed because I was pretty clear I wanted to sign up for Audio I, and they are trying to sell us.
Upsell you.
They scheduled the meeting, and they had a guy come on to sell us an upgrade of the website, which might be worth considering. But that's not what we were
Right.
trying to work with. So, and you see the senior center hire.
Yeah.
Also, that position has been upgraded in terms of responsibilities.
Right. This was on last week. Yeah.
Right. Government Study Committee, we've just completed that. VP, in touch with Representative Ash to talk about the bond earmarks. Moderator recommended, and you approved funding for clerical staff for the Government Study Committee. The Highway Department has received the materials costing $16,000 for the crosswalk at Memorial Park. So we'll get that done. And then
Now,
lastly,
that's coming out of the gaming money?
yes,
Okay.
That was the part of the first 100.
First
we
100,
unspent.
Yeah.
Okay.
and lastly, Jane talked to me today about a clerk for the fire department as she transitions. And he's recommending 15 hours. And if you, just a matter of keeping that in mind when we get back to the budget.
Right. Then it comes fire department budget. Now, that would be, now is that for the full year? Because I know Jane is leaving halfway through the year.
Yeah, we would just have to fund half year,
Well,
but then it'll be a full year.
The
I
question-
questioned 15 hours, but she said that even though she is allocated 4 hours,
I
that
agree.
she spends more time than the 4 hours.
Why is that? Why is that? What do they have, what clerk duties does she have to do? She got the payroll.
we also talked about the fact was there some
And-
stuff that the people working there couldn't get, you know.
And we're paying 3 people to do administrative work. And I think they could look at the payroll, and they're supposed to file the forms with the MIFA, so I don't know what the 15 hours is at the fire department
Make sure that they put together
a week.
Yeah.
an information for you. But
That's a
this
little
just,
PowerPoint for their.
this just happened in a
budget time.
conversation today
Right.
at 4 o'clock.
I guess.
Color.
And that concludes the report.
Okay. Bob, I've got you gave us an updated, I guess,
Boards and
committee and boards and committee thing.
Yes.
There's some errors on here I'm going to show
Right.
you, just if you want to.
Well, I did remove today the auxiliary officers for the police department. I've asked the fire chief to take a look at
Right, but
Um,
the definition of ex officio
Yes.
is a non-voting member,
Yes.
I thought.
In other words, you serve by virtue of being an official, public
Right.
official, who then sits on the committee.
Well, that's
By
where, for
virtue of
instance,
being a public
CPA,
official.
the CPC committee,
Yes,
you list the mandated positions
yeah.
as ex officio, and they're not. They're voting members. They're just mandated positions
Okay.
by the thing, but there's
So,
a nine,
yeah, but, well, okay.
you know what I mean?
that- Usually ex officio means you don't vote.
Right, but that's why they're not ex officio members. They're, the CPA was saying you had to have 4 at large, and then these 5 town committees had to have a member on the committee. Right, but they vote. And then I think there was another one. Oh, you mentioned Park and Rec? There are 2 people, I think. Didn't we appoint Terry also?
Shuttleworth.
No, we
Terry Ford
appointed
and
Shuttleworth
Susan
and
Shuttleworth.
Terry. So both are actually appointed until election, and you have one down as elected. So,
Yeah, there are
and I
3
thought the
people on
2,
there.
weren't these done?
Well,
That was done already.
Christine's,
That was done already, right? That was last election.
Christine's elected, yeah, and Heather's elected.
Right. The planning board ones are. they're all
Well,
taken
everyone's
care of, yeah,
elected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's
I think on
perfect.
historical, Betty's no longer on the historical.
Well,
Oh, really? That's too bad.
well,
Is
we
your
want to
wife
keep
chair?
an up-to-date
Connie.
file of who's who and what their terms are.
Yeah.
And I haven't looked at this
Yeah.
for at least 6 months, so I just started looking at it the last couple of days.
General
It's
email to each
amazing-
board? Sure.
Amazing how many changes occur
Oh, I'm sure.
in a couple of months.
All right. Is there any other action, any other business to come before the board?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to adjourn. Is there any comment or discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Drag it out for you.
I thought you were gonna roll call it.